a noblewoman bound by duty, a knight bound by honor. Their love, torn apart by betrayal, war, and 20 years of silence. Yet in the Garden of Roses where it all began, destiny brought them back together. This is not just a story, it is a legend of love that time itself could not erase. Once upon a time, in the late 14th century, within the high walls of a powerful European kingdom, there lived a young noblewoman named Isabella. She was known throughout the court for her chestnut-brown hair that shimmered like silk in the candlelight, and her eyes, a deep hazel green, that held the quiet strength of someone who dreamed beyond her gilded cage. She wore gowns of velvet and pearls, but beneath her graceful smile lived a soul longing for freedom. In the same kingdom, there lived Adrian, a knight of humble birth. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark wavy hair that often fell across his brow, and eyes the color of storm clouds, steady but hiding an ocean of dreams. He was brave, fiercely loyal, and carried himself with the quiet dignity of a man who valued honor over riches. His armor was plain compared to the jeweled suits of noble knights, yet to Isabella, he shone brighter than any prince. Their story began in the castle gardens, under the arch of climbing roses, where Adrian often guarded the queen's chambers. One night, Isabella slipped into the moonlit garden to escape the noise of a grand feast. It was there, among the roses, that their eyes met for the first time. A single white rose fell from her hand as Adrian bent to retrieve it, their fingers brushing for the briefest of moments. And so began a love that could never be spoken, but could never be denied. Isabella and Adrian began to steal moments beneath the cover of night. In the chapel's shadows, in the castle library, and among the hidden courtyards, they whispered promises that could never be made aloud. She would leave behind folded letters, tied with ribbon, hidden inside the pages of prayer books. He would return them with petals pressed inside, a silent vow that their love endured. Every meeting carried danger, yet danger made their passion burn brighter. In the silence of the halls, they spoke not of duty or titles, but of dreams, a life where she was free to love, and he was free to be loved. But walls have ears, and in every court, loyalty is divided. The king's advisor, a cold man with sharp eyes, began to suspect Isabella's wandering heart. Whispers reached the duke, her father, that his daughter's virtue was no longer untouched by duty alone. To protect his honor and secure the family's power, the duke arranged for Isabella to be betrothed to a foreign prince. Isabella wept when she learned of the marriage, her tears staining the very letter she wrote to Adrian. But Adrian, with trembling hands, promised her they would find a way. He spoke of leaving the kingdom, of escaping the chains of court, but Isabella knew the punishment for betrayal was death. Their love had become a dangerous fire, burning too brightly to remain hidden. Fate took a cruel turn when war erupted along the borders. Adrian was sent to the front lines, leaving Isabella behind in the cold grip of court politics. Nights grew long as she clutched the single white rose he had given her, waiting for news. Letters arrived, sometimes with words of hope, sometimes stained with blood, but each one tied their hearts closer together. On the battlefield, Adrian fought not just for his kingdom, but for the dream of returning to her arms. Yet war is merciless, and rumors spread that he had fallen. When Isabella heard this, her heart shattered, though secretly she clung to hope that love was stronger than death. Adrian returned alive, scarred but unbroken. Yet his return was not welcomed. The king's advisor had discovered the truth of their forbidden love. One moonless night, Isabella and Adrian were caught together in the garden where it all began. Guards tore them apart, her cries echoing through the halls while Adrian was dragged in chains before the duke. The duke's judgment was swift. Adrian was to be exiled, cast out as a traitor. Isabella, locked in her chamber, pressed her last rose to her lips and whispered a vow to wait for him, even if it took a lifetime. Adrian wandered the lands, carrying the memory of Isabella like a sacred flame. He became a mercenary, a protector of the weak, but never again did he love another. In her tower, Isabella grew pale, her once bright laughter silenced by years of sorrow. She married the foreign prince as her father commanded, but her heart never left the garden where the roses grew. 20 years passed. The kingdom changed rulers, wars came and went, and whispers of the past faded into legend. But in Isabella's heart, Adrian lived. Just as in Adrian's, Isabella remained the only light that never dimmed. One evening, now a woman of 40, Isabella walked once more through the castle garden. Her hair streaked with silver, but her eyes still filled with longing. As the moonlight bathed the roses, she heard footsteps behind her. Turning, she saw him. Adrian, older now, his armor worn, his hair touched with gray, but his eyes, still the same stormy gray that had stolen her heart. For a moment, time itself seemed to stop. Neither spoke, for words were too small for a love that had survived decades of silence. Instead, Adrian placed into her hands a single white rose, just as he had all those years ago. Tears filled Isabella's eyes as she whispered, "I waited." He answered simply, "So did I." Though their years were fewer now, they cherished every moment. They no longer met in secrecy, for they no longer cared who watched. To the world, they were two souls scarred by time. But to each other, they were still the girl with the rose and the knight who picked it up. And so, the legend of the forgotten rose was born. Not a story of tragedy, but of love unbroken by war, by betrayal, or by time itself. A reminder that even in a world of duty and power, the heart will always remember the one it was meant to love.